word in because I still don't know how to make this thing fade out nicely. I'm Ryan Doell. I'm your host for Gotham City tonight, and I am not alone. And unfortunately, Lexi cannot make it. She is working again tonight. So with me, I have my friend, my co-worker, Alice, joining me. Alice, how are
Hello.
things?
Yeah, good. Sorry you guys get me tonight, but hopefully can make up for it.
No. It's all good. It's all good. This is going to be awesome because for anyone who doesn't know, Alice and I both worked on Spiderverse together. She was one of the all-star artists on our team. She was doing effects work. She was doing the line art. She came in as her first feature film, and then near the end of it, she was helping approve shots. She's a goddamn all-star. Blew my goddamn mind. It was like awesome. It was, yeah, like hands down.
Thanks, Ryan.
So good. So not animator effects artist Alice. Though I think you've done some. You're on your Instagram. You've dabbled in some animation, correct?
Yeah, well, that's what my degree was in. FX just came out of the left field. I was
Oh,
originally
because
supposed to be an animator.
nobody goes to animation school to be an effects artist. You just fall into it, and then you're one
Yeah,
forever.
kind of. Yeah, they like get you in their clutches, and then they're like, you can't leave now. So
Because you know how to
here
do
I
it.
am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it usually goes too. Not everyone can do it. So, but you're in a good position too because not everyone can do it. So it's actually better for you, right in the long run.
Yeah.
But Alice is working on a comic book. We're gonna get into that shortly. Yeah, we're gonna get into that shortly. I'm just gonna say a quick hello to the chat. We've got Toy Geekosaurus. We are all doing great. We have Video Power Gaming eBay store is here. I said that without even stuttering this time. I did so good. Andrew from Gady's Toys is here. Dude, please get lots of rest. I hope Alice and I can make you feel so much better. Dorlaxian is here. We got Matt Bush. He's my favorite dude. He's in my will now, by the way, for anyone who does not know. He's now in it. Greg Needham is here. Yeah, yeah, what a tip. Chad Stewart is here. We've got my boy, Johnny Cock. Again, follow his Instagram, folks. Awesome artist. Awesome stuff from Johnny. Tony Johnson is here. Zach Toy Art is here. Also, check out his Instagram. Beautiful artwork from there as well. Nolan is here. Durant is here. We got Bat Boy versus Charlie Squared. Unlimited power. Oh, don't be envious of my collection. Do not.
I
Do
am.
not be. Really? Alice.
Ron promised me he'd give me Walmart. What was it? The Loki. What was the cereal again?
Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms. Yeah, I was telling him. I was like, man, I was trying to get the Lucky Charms Loki edition. It sold out immediately. And he goes, oh yeah, I've got that. I was like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah.
I'm Clark.
Well, they're yours. They're going to be yours soon enough. So do not worry. PabloLoco.com is here. The Deadheads as well. So thank you everyone for being here and hanging out with us. Yeah, we're gonna talk some web comics tonight. This is totally, you know how I like to talk about comics on here when we get the chance to. And I think the one thing we never really get a big chance to talk about, because we're usually talking about the big two. It's usually Marvel, DC. We dabble in some Image if you want to say big three. But the indie scene in comics, just like action figures at the moment, is huge. It is. I think indie comics have been pretty big for a while, especially once Image
getting big.
Yeah, I feel like once Image started doing stuff like Saga and Why the Last Man, I feel like since that's like what 10. It's crazy that that's almost 10 years ago now, if not 10 years ago, and now it's like that's what people are looking for, and I think it's always great to have these alternatives, and it's also awesome because this is how a lot of artists get discovered. And they'll you're doing the con circuit, you're doing the hustle, you've been doing the whole thing, and it's been like Like your booth is awesome, by the way. Again,
Thank
well,
you.
we'll throw your stuff at there at the end of the show and where to find you. But Alice, tell us about your comic. Tell us about what you're working on.
Yeah, so I am currently working on a Webtoons comic. So kind of Webtoons is now like they do a lot of English comics, so it's that mix between like Eastern like manga and like Western comics, that mixing pot that I think is really popular these days and getting a lot of traction online. And you're right, it is like indie in the sense that we're published to a company, but everyone's doing their own thing. It's your own story. Yeah, a lot of people are the authors and the artists. For my comic, I'm doing kind of like a lighthearted um, jab at fantasy tropes because I'm a big fan of fantasy. I'm a big fan of comics, but sometimes you kind of question when you like think about it. You're like, that doesn't that doesn't seem legal, you know? Like for example, when every time I think about Batman, I'm always like Alfred really let him adopt 4 like 9-year-olds and then like train them into like soldiers. I was like, So it's just poking fun at like fantasy and comic tropes that we love, but sometimes you're like, we could make fun of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so it's a little self-aware.
Exactly, and it kind of follows the a la X-Men in the sense that they all go to like a boarding school, they all learn about their powers. You follow a protagonist who thinks she's human, but maybe she's not. And there's a little bit of politics, a little bit of corruption. Everyone loves a little bit of a jab at the government, but yeah, little
No,
yeah, little fun fic.
that's awesome. Okay, so you've got these are like, by the way, these are all awesome. Like, I'm loving all of these. Can you tell us can you tell us about the characters at all, or are you keeping this under wraps, or?
I'm trying not to spoil too much in the sense that we I haven't revealed yet who exactly the protagonist is. We kind of see her as the generic protagonist. You get a lot of tropes where it's like, I'm an ordinary guy, and then I discovered I have superpowers. That's her role, is the I'm just an everyday lad, and then I discovered maybe I have superpowers, and then what do I do with these superpowers? And then later on in the story, you kind of go into what does it mean when you have superpowers and what is it to be like a figurehead and like the expectations of other people, your responsibilities. If you have powers, do you have a responsibility to save people? Like that kind of thing.
No, that's super cool. And that does look like a dragon back there as well through the window.
Yep. There's some
I do want
creatures.
to point that out. Right? So we've got big creatures, we've got powers, and then these are all teenagers, correct?
Yep, they're all in school. They're all in their last year of high school.
So, will there be romance?
Oh, you got to have a little bit of romance. What kind of fantasy doesn't have good old romance? Maybe even a love triangle, perhaps. Not too many spoilers here, but
yeah.
No,
those are very, very important.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a coming of age, growing up. So you got to have your crushes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. It's funny because those stories, you never kind of, those like just, I know they're all kind of like tropes and stuff, but that kind of stuff you just never grow out of.
Yeah,
And
so
I always kind of feel like, yeah, right. It's yeah, but you never kind of grow out of them. And it's sometimes things that's missing a lot in modern media. It's like, even like this is one of my biggest complaints about current Star Wars, that there's not enough kissing.
Yep. Give me that romance.
Right. Give me that romance. Like, I felt like we're getting there with Sabine and Shady. Like, let's just make it happen. We're getting there. But then nothing happened. And they were like, oh, maybe Sabine and Ezra will make out. No, nothing happened. Nobody's making out. It's getting frustrating.
They just
so
tease you. They drag you along.
Right. But that's also good too. Like, it's always good to have that of will they, won't they's and that kind of stuff. I think this is like going to be super fun. And again, you'll find it on which website? It'll be on Webtoons.
Yes, it'll be on. It's exclusively on webtoons.com, which also has a bunch of other interesting comics if anyone's looking for a good time. Batman, the Wayne family one is on there, which
Yep.
I find really entertaining. Yeah, it's great.
Yes, that's it. That has been a big topic here. Lexi's going to be so mad she's not here to talk about it, because that's like one of her like favorite things. That's what she wants adapted as like an
Oh,
animated like movie,
yes,
is that. So
yes.
that's like a big thing for her. So you'll find that the same place. And also, this hasn't dropped yet.
No, it's coming out. I've got a calendar here, which is I'm looking exactly 1 week from now. Oh, 6 days from now.
6 days. There it is.
Yeah,
So there we
yeah.
go. Yeah. So everyone, please go check it out. Alice, where can they find you on Instagram so they can see your art, see these announcements, find out which cons you'll be attending?
That's true, yes. They can find me under Akiocha, Akiocha. I'm that username everywhere, so if you find me on like somewhere else, that was probably also me.
Yeah. So even if Tumblr, it'll be you.
Yep. I'm
Tumblr.
on Tumblr. I don't
That
post it anywhere, but if you find me, you can follow me on Tumblr.
if you can find her on Tumblr, you can find her. Yeah, just with Instagram.
hmm
The
I do
the
animations on TikTok
TikTok.
occasionally.
There we go. That's what
hmm
I was
Yep.
thinking of, but I was like, I clearly
Yeah.
don't know what I'm doing.
It's where all the cool kids are at these days.
It's true. Hang on. I'm just gonna type it out into the chat here.
Oh, yes.
A I'm so bad at typing and then talking at the same time. You would think I would be awesome at it, seeing as that's like usually my job as well.
It's all good. I find that as I get older, I find I can't multitask anymore. I used to, not anymore.
Now I just need to focus on one thing, then move to the
Yeah.
next thing. That's me too. That is exactly what I have become. But yes, and folks, but at the end, because usually, we do a little talking and stuff like that to the chat. If this is the time too, if anyone has any questions about Spider-Verse they've been wanting to ask, we'll answer them tonight. We'll hang out here and we can talk all the Spider-Verse you want to talk about if that's what you so desire.
hmm
Yeah, and we're here for that too. That's how Alice and I met. All through that.
Yeah.
It's wild. It man, it's crazy. I was about to
Yeah.
say something I shouldn't have said. This is the worst part about like talking this stuff. So again, this should be very interesting when the Q&A comes up.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into tonight's main event. We've been wanting to talk about this for a while. It's the studio heads, and mainly the ones that are kind of the most under them, the most scrutiny at the moment, outside of like Netflix, for Netflix just being cheap. I mean, but right now, Bob Iger, as per usual. And then there's David, I can never pronounce his last name correctly, from Warner Brothers.
Mhm.
David Zaslav. Anyways,
Good attempt.
right, that's a good attempt. It's a good attempt indeed, but it's just like we want to talk about these guys and the kind of the weird, shady stuff they're doing, and kind of continuing, and kind of what they're getting busted on as well at the moment, which I find really interesting with Warner Brothers, that the government might start getting involved with them shelving their movies. Quickly, I want to acknowledge I missed this man's super chat last night on Toy Anxiety. I am a horrible human being. Johnny Cock, $5. Thank you. Is it because you can't multitask anymore, or you developed standards and realized you wanted to be able to do one thing at a time properly? That's it.
Yep. Yep.
That's
true.
that's correct. That is it. That's
I just
100% it.
I grew some standards.
It's a well, I think it's well, especially with like, for anyone who doesn't understand what I do for a living, I put boxes on the floor and let cats jump inside, and then I take those cats and then I tell them when to jump out of said box. So it's it is a lot of like herding cats, and it's even harder because I'm herding artists. And it's you do have to like, are you kicking this back? Are you taking notes for this? Are you having to like go to this person? Are you flagging this? Are you changing that? It's and you have to do a priority list through your day and get through it. So it's like I tried multitasking, and that's when things dropped so hard for me, because I'd be like, oh, I started that, I didn't finish it. Why? Because I was multitasking.
It's
That's
true.
toy art. Artists are like cats.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they need to be left alone, but also they need a lot of attention.
Yeah. Only when we want attention, though. I will be like, Ryan, I have questions, but otherwise, don't disturb me.
Correct. And I like to just leave them alone at work too. Paige Toy Samples is here. Thank you for being here and hanging out. Did you know about the Suicide Squad anime coming in 2024? I did. I was kind of hoping to wait for Lexi to be here to talk about it. She's really big into all the animated features and all of that. And someone else brought up earlier too. I think it was Randall. Happy new Superpower Repaint Day. Yes, I think we're going to get into that. I think, of course, on Geek Dad Life, depending on who his guest is. It's always a Superpowers Day over here. Love those toys. But thank you, everyone. Yes, let's get into this. Let's get into Warner Brothers first and this weird shit that they're doing with finishing movies, almost specifically animated movies or hybrid animated movies. That being, I think Coyote versus Acme was the latest to get kind of shelved and then taken off the shelf. Batgirl got shelved, and then Scoob, which apparently got rave reviews and was amazing, and it was a finished animated movie, and they decided to just put it on the shelf to write it off for tax purposes.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was.
Oh gosh.
So I think the reason why Coyote versus Acme got pulled back off the shelf was because the government said, you can't keep doing tax write-offs.
Yeah.
On the things that you're making. Like, this is now becoming like a thing. Like, and I'm just curious, like, it's you and I both working in film. That would be like us working on Spiderverse and then them saying, you know what, you're done. Great job. We're going to shelf it. Yeah.
Yeah. Which would be heartbreaking, right?
It would be brutal. So no, I'm just curious. Like, I don't know if you've been keeping up on this. I've been kind of keeping up with it on the side with all the drama with Warner Brothers, and we'll get into Disney in a little bit, but I'm just curious to your thoughts on all of this.
Yeah. I didn't this kind of thing I've like known companies do, but I didn't know it was like a recent like resurgent topic. Because I remember similarly, like Amazon, I read an article like a year back where Amazon's like, oh, we don't pay taxes even though you're like $1 billion company, and they do it because they're like, oh, we spent this much money building the company, and so we can write all of that off, and so they're technically not profitable, even though clearly they are, and it's like, it feels wrong. It feels icky. It's like, but also I feel like you can't stop them.
Yeah, well, you can't, which is what's even worse. Like, I can't imagine being anyone who's had to work on something, think it's done and ready to go, and somebody in a suit on Mount Olympus says, nah, I can make more money just not releasing it. And it's pretty brutal. Like, I can't imagine that. And I know that they're like, and again, like Warner Brothers right now is going through like another mass layoff. Like, I feel like they're laying off hundreds of people like every year at this point. And they just keep kind of acting like, oh, we're not making enough money. And it's like, dude, you came out with Barbie and Oppenheimer at this summer. Like, are you gonna tell me you didn't make enough money? Like I don't know what. Yeah, it is bonkers. And I understand that now with the strikes over, it's becoming very apparent they don't want to pay people. So now they're like, I think anyone, even in the chat, you probably might have noticed, we're starting to see more and more like just movies and shows getting removed from the platforms. just because they know now if they keep it on there, they're going to have to like pay these writers and actors, money for airing it. So now they're all like, oh, we have to scale back as we have too much content for you. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I mean, similarly, I've talked to you about this before, Ryan, but I was looking for an art book for Over the Garden Wall, and it's the licensing is Warner Brothers. And so this art book for only like a 4-year-old TV show is going for like $800. And the original creator is on Twitter being like, I'm trying to get this book republished, I'm trying to get a reprint. And he's like, Warner Brothers is just not interested in like funding these kind of things because for them it's not worth whatever amount of money they make. Like I don't know, but the art books are going for like $800, and you're like, how does this make sense?
you're gonna have to find a PDF, someone to scan it.
I'll reprint it myself and then bind it.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea with some of these. Man, Aaron Davis is here. We also worked with this young man, right? He's also part of that Spiderverse team. Yeah, and we're happy to see you in the chat. Thanks for just being here and hanging out.
Hello.
I know Aaron's a big Batman fan too, and yet, funny enough, we're not really talking too much about Batman today. But that's it. Someone here had a question for you. I thought this was really kind of funny. Does Alice collect superpowers? I will answer this for Alice. No.
My poison of choice. My poison of choice is Pokemon cards. That's where my money goes.
Right? we're done OT. We're done. We're done OT here. Right? But it's that's so just as a heads up. It's like, but I will say Alice and I we went to the toy show down in Everett. It was me, Brandon, and Britt. And that was your first big American toy show.
Yeah. It was so exciting. I got this is a bit of a belated update because that was like a year ago at this point. But I got a Loki timer. Do you remember? I bought like a little kitchen, like a timer thing. It broke as soon as I used it. So
used it.
It just looks pretty on a shelf now, but
that's really unfortunate.
I know.
You were really excited to find that.
I was so excited. I was like, oh, but it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Right? It's super. Yeah, like I don't know, man. I love toy shows. You're gonna notice here, Alice, a lot of people come that watch the show come from toy anxiety, the same audience as well. So everyone loves to talk a little bit of toys. We all do.
Absolutely.
Man, there, as you can see behind me, there's no lack of it. It's a bloody museum, right?
Is your entire house like that? Is it just the wall behind you? Oh God,
just hang tight. It's like it is. My place is like the Beauty and the Beast library mixed with 40-year-old virgin. That's the mix. That's how I like to put it. Good mix. Right? I thought so too. All right. The cool thing here, I want to go back to just quickly Warner Brothers before we hop onto Disney. The exciting thing about Acme Coyote versus Acme, which is their Looney Tunes movie that is coming out. First off, it's also great on an animation for me being just an animation nerd to get the Looney Tunes back and hearing something that they're doing getting such good reviews. Because I always thought like there was this weird linger there for a while where just either people just didn't care or maybe the movies weren't good or whatever. So it was always exciting to hear that this was amazing. And then to have it pulled. But someone put it in here best. Like John Cena does one of the voices. John Cena's in this movie. You don't shelve John. You never bench John Cena. Right? Like it's
true.
Right. So I don't know. I myself, I was pretty excited that one, thanks to the people and the government saying you can't do that. Now we're actually going to get it released. So I think that's next year. I hope it's next year. there's a lot coming out next year. That's like
Yeah.
movies are back, folks. Everyone go back to the theater
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
The
All right.
Joker musical is next year as well, I think.
That's next year already with Lady
I think
Gaga.
so. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's
I cannot
exciting.
wait for that. Yeah, that one. It's like it's one of those movies where I'm like, this could go either way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't even care. Like I like I just
It's
I
just a good
cannot wait for
time.
that. Yes, right? Like just let's just do it. It'll be great. Uh yeah, I'm totally for it. All right. We're gonna get into Bob Iger, and I also want to talk about Peter Ramsey. He was one of the directors for the first Spiderverse, and he's gone on to direct episodes of Mandalorian and Ahsoka. So everyone kind of knows who Peter Ramsey is now. He's Mr. Big Deal. And I love it because he's like the nicest guy. For anyone who doesn't know, super nice guy. I have photos with him and an Oscar and a Golden Globe, and the Golden Globe is heavier than I thought. Just to throw that out there. And he's, like I said, super nice guy. And he heard Bob Iger's comments, and his reply was complete utter bullshit. And I was like, yeah, because it's always like the dude still kind of technically works for Disney, and you know he's letting him has no fear.
Call him out.
Call him out, and here's why he's calling him out. Iger was explaining quality needs attention. It doesn't happen by accident. Quantity, in our case, diluted quality. He pointed out other reasons that Marvel's floundered in theaters. He said that in this project was shot during the COVID pandemic, and there wasn't much supervision on set. Where we have executives that are really looking over what's being done. So in other words, he wants to have studio execs micromanaging movies and shows, thinking that's what's going to make them good. What are you? Yeah, Alice. Let's hear your thoughts on this.
I mean, look, Spider-Verse is bad enough without them being like, we need more macromanaging. Like, we had decisions being changed like 3 months from the end of when the film was due. It's like,
Right.
at that point, you're like, calm down. We've got 3 months left. We got to finish the film.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's every film, I feel like.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's like everything I've worked on, it's always like it's change after change after change. And usually I'm going like, and I'm saying this in the nicest way, the client notes are usually the worst notes. If you've ever watched a movie and you're like, what happened there? Why is that scene there? That's kind of dumb. That's a studio executive note. Every time. If you've seen deleted scenes and you're like, that was awesome. Like, who cuts cool? You never cut cool. You never cut funny. Except unless you're a studio exec. Then you cut cool. Then you cut funny. And it's just something that I see a lot of just in general. But I mean, like Spider-Verse, I don't think Spider-Verse had the problem of cutting cool. I think Spider-Verse had the problem of let's go bigger. Well, less and less time happened. Granted, the payoff was massive.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And we did it. But whew, I remember like the last few months, and it was just like it was go and go hard. And I'm still smiling. I'm just like easy.
I'd do it again.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And it's like I love it. You know what? I don't know. For some reason, that one for me, Spider-Verse ran smoother than like so many others on a smaller scale. And like, but again, I think just not to praise you and like the team constantly, but honestly, like we had like our effects team and Inkline's team were just like so stellar at everything they did. Like even when we were getting like new crew jumping on in the last last few months, everybody picked it up quickly.
Oh yeah.
And just like cruised on through. And and like I was thinking too, like when I read that, like I was thinking the same thing. Like I can't imagine more micromanaging from a studio exec.
Yeah.
Like it would be constant. and it would make things so much harder. And
And they give feedback, and you take this feedback and you go, do you understand what is required in order to hit this feedback? Like, is it worth
yeah,
what you're asking? And I don't think they know what it takes to do these things. They're just like, someone needs to get it done.
you just got to type the word cat in and a cat
Yeah.
will appear, right?
Yeah.
That's how that goes, right? Like it's absolutely wild. And then he continues on about he's where was I on this thing? He also pointed out that Thor: Love and Thunder could have done a little more supervision on set. You know, like I just, that to me too, he's kind of talking about, you know, not, what is it? How did he phrase it? I'm trying to find the right quote where he was like, kind of like, didn't want to make things too political or too
Mm,
social commentary. And I was kind of like, but that's what movies are. That's what comic books are. And I was like, and if you're using Marvel as an example, Marvel, the comics, the source has always been about social issues. I mean, that's where Superman came from. Superman was created by Siegel and Schuster based on the BS that was happening to the blue collar worker, right? Like
yep.
that's what that was. And Spider-Man is kind of the same, like it's the same thing. Like, and even though you could take a look at certain adventure books, maybe like Fantastic Four, like Fantastic Four's like, or like is a lot like Incredibles in a lot of way. Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of comparison with those two. But it's like those were, they get social political in the same way Star Trek does.
Mm,
Right? So they're going on some sort of like weird crazy space adventure, but then their main villain is now a dictator
yeah.
who like abuses his people, right? Like it's all there.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're gonna have to bring in Doctor Doom sometime. Like, what are they gonna do about it? Like it is absolutely wild. Like it's, and again, like, yeah, I don't even think, I think when I think about Bob Kane talking about creating Batman, he legit just created, he kind of ripped off other artists, which is all well known. I'm not just talking shit about a dead man. You know, he ripped off a lot of artists, and he kind of went in and said, well, I can do this, and they're making how much money on Superman? Well, I can make even more money. And he did. So, I mean, I don't really know, like, and again, but Batman became its own social political commentary about crime and how it's dealt with. And now it's like, we really kind of like how the story of Batman has evolved from him being like this kick-ass, just this dude who just punches people in the neck, right? Like,
And
and now it's
scowls.
kind of like he broods, right?
Yes,
And it's kind of
exactly.
interesting how it's like his story lately is about his trauma
Hmm.
and how he
Which I
deals with
love.
it, right?
I love reading about that.
That's when
Yeah.
he's that's when he's interesting, right? When you see those weaknesses in Batman where he doesn't know how to handle something because his trauma gets in the way, and how he shares that trauma or puts it onto, like you said, his child army, right? And
Yeah.
they have to carry that trauma of Bruce's as well as their own trauma, right? As well. So it's,
Yeah.
but that's what makes, like, and I think it was you, didn't you? I think you texted me. Oh gosh, this is while you were still in Australia, and you were like, I actually find the sidekicks more interesting
Oh yeah.
than
I mean,
Batman.
look, I don't know if I've given this rant to you because I've since kind of changed my mind with the new Batman media, but I've always been like, hot take, I don't like Batman. I think he's boring. There's a million other characters that have dead parents. Get over yourself. Back when he was just broody, mysterious, raspy man. And now
Right.
I'm like, you know what? You've grown, your character has developed. We're getting into the nuances of why you are the way you are, why you don't kill. Like, more than just, I don't kill because if I kill a killer, there's still the same amount of killers or whatever. Like, give me
You're
some
right.
meat to the backstory. And I like that. And originally the side characters, like Nightwing, Red Hood, I like them because they're like more emotional versions of Bruce. And now we have
Right.
kind of more emotional Bruce, and I like that.
Yeah. Same here. Like, I think that's why once Tom King took over as writer, I was like, I am so, because I was the same as you, like 100%. Like, I was all about Nightwing and Tim Drake Robin and Damian. Like, I was all like in Red Hood to an extent as well. But I mean, like, because he's just part of the family, and not to mention like Barbara and Spoiler and all these, like, again, he's got some of the best like supporting cast in any comic book. And like you were saying, like, and I agree too, like in the sense of like a lot of them are just more interesting because they got to actually like, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I almost like their dynamic more than the Avengers sometimes. They're more like a family. I mean, I guess they are, but yeah.
Yeah. Right? Like, it's just, it's unlimited power. No,
I know.
she does like Batman. She likes Batman now. It's okay. It's okay.
I've come around. I've redeemed myself, guys. Please.
Right? So it's just, I know we totally just went off topic from Bob Iger, but it's kind of like you and talking shit about his bullshit. But again, it's like, these are like, well, I guess we're not really, because it's just kind of, this is, if he starts to go off that trail of like who these characters are and what they mean and what they do and what they stand for, and if he kind of takes that away to try to appeal to both like political parties in the States or whatever that is, because that's what it sounded like he was phrasing it to, that we're leaning too one-sided. And it's just like, dude, that's what comics are. Like, sorry, bud. Like, that's just, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, the artists who create these series, they're coming from a place of like love from their own series and whatever story it is that they're trying to tell. But executives have other motives. You know what I mean? They're balancing a whole bunch of other things. The priority of the
Like
story
a
itself
checkbook.
sometimes is not even high enough on that list. And so when they're like, you need to micromanage because we're like, letting things run loose, you're saying you're limiting that creativity, because the people who are then in control are not the people who care about the story or care about the audience necessarily.
Right. They care about that bottom line and that bottom dollar, and how can they make that bottom dollar higher than the last one. Like, right? It's like, it's at the end of the day, because it was always about money. The strike was always about money, right? That's why they didn't want to give in, because they didn't feel like they should have to pay these people who are making them millionaires, or in some case billionaires.
Yeah.
To me, it's still absolutely bonkers. And yeah, I would hate for them to, like, if I find out like the Batman 2 gets like micromanaged to death, I will be like so mad, because the first one's so good.
So good. Yeah.
I really can't wait for and the Penguin series, I can't wait for that as well. Right? It's let's take a look at the chat here. Greg Needham, it's a good point. Is Dick Grayson more lovable because he's such a contrast, like superpower friendship? It's a little bit of that. He's definitely just more relatable. Like, even though he kind of grew up in a circus and grew up in a man, thing about Dick's personality that makes him absolutely more likable. Plus, the dude's got a sweet butt. You can't deny that. And
best butt in the family.
Right. 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 The dude's the family thirst trap is that's what he is. And it's just, and there's he's Dick Grayson was always meant to be us, the reader that's going along this ride with Batman. So I always feel like that to me is why I feel like he's more likable.
Yeah. And also, I think he is that archetype of the older sibling and what older siblings kind of have to go through. Like, even if you're not an older sibling, you can kind of see, like, he's trying to be positive and support the family, but there are moments where you get to see that it's, he's also struggling, he also has trauma, he also has no parents. Um, yeah.
No, it's totally true. Katie's Toys. Yay, Nightwing was raised by Bruce and Clark, and it's the best of both. That's also a very good point.
True.
Right? I I love that. Bacon McShig. All these CEOs need a bat family. Maybe they'd get some perspective. I agree. I think they need to be friends with more poor people. I think that's what needs to happen. Z Harv, there's a Penguin series. Yes, there is a Penguin series that's being. I think it started filming as soon as the strikes ended. It was just like it started. It started filming. Strike started as soon as before the even actor strike started. They stopped filming in support of the writer strike, and then as soon as the strikes ended, I believe they went back to filming, which is like super exciting. Because again, Colin Farrell, boom, he knocked that one like right out of the park.
So good, yeah.
Right? Unlimited power. I don't know what Gaga's interpretation of Harley Quinn is going to be or going to look like, but I'll miss Margot Robbie. Same. But maybe now we'll get a Barbie sequel. That'll be okay.
Yeah.
I would be I would be okay with that, right? So all right. You know what? I don't think there's that much left to really go over as far as like really this is concerned. So if anyone has questions they wanted to ask about like Spider-Verse or just like if you're curious about anything, and yes, I'll even tackle if anyone wants to even ask, hey, was it really as bad as the Vulture said it was? Anything like that. Go ahead, start asking questions. In the meantime, you know what? Let's just do a quick sneak peek. I'm gonna see if I can find them. Because people were asking about the superpowers toys earlier. I am going to show you what these are, Alice, because I'm not even sure if you'll probably look at them and go, didn't you buy some of these while we were in Everett? And I would be like, yes, I did. It was pretty close. Hang on, let's see. 1 of 11. Gosh, it's one of these pages that has so many ads. All right. We are going to go to Toy News Toy News International. All right, we're going to take a quick flip through these. We'll go into deeper discussion with Jay. But that depends on who his guest is too. I don't want to invade his show when he has a special guest, right? Let's all respect Jay's time. We all love Jay from Geek Dad Life. For any also quick self plug, if anyone missed Toy Anxiety last night, it was a Ryan Doell bootleg, and it was myself, Dan Larson, Kevin from Toying Around, and of course Jay of Geek Dad Life. But anyways, let's take a look at these cool gold figures of Batman and the Flash. This is what we need more of, at least as far as I'm concerned. I'm all for these kind of repaints, these weird ones. Looks like they're celebrating something here at the top. Oh, it's the 40th. Oh God, 40th anniversary of Superpowers. Whew. I don't know how I feel about that. But again, these are super fun.
His jaw is so square.
So square. Right? Look at that. Beautiful, man. Beautiful, man. That's the Flash. Looks like they're repainting the Wally West one. Oh, and I think that's there was like more. There was like, well, we'll just talk about the gold ones. All right. Sinestro. Also, we saw Sinestro in there, Green Lantern. Awesome stuff. Like it's really, really cool. So thank you for indulging, Alice. Right. Let's take a look here. All right. Let's go to Finn. Hang on. We'll start with here. With Victor Santiago. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Do they got to redo some villains in the Batman universe, comics, and media? What do you think? I don't think they really need to redo any villains, but I'm always down for them creating new ones that are more like, or like, I mean, if they're going to change them, like you can, like Poison Ivy has changed so much in this past, like the past few years. For like, she's gone from full on villain to like an anti-hero. So I mean, they are changing. So I don't know if I would redo any villains, but I'm totally down for letting them evolve and creating new villains. I mean, we got Punchline. She's new as well. I don't know if she took off quite as much as people were hoping, but she's there. We are getting new villains. Alice, is there anyone you would change? Is there any villains that you know of that you would just update or think need a?
I don't know. I feel like they've done a pretty good job recently of like revamping or bringing back old villains. I feel like they've done a decent job. I've enjoyed seeing different aspects of them. I'm a big fan of villains. I'm usually always on the side of the villain. So
Oh, huh. All right, good to know. All right, we'll start getting to some of these questions. Unlimited power. Why do you end Spider-Verse in the middle of a scene? Do you know how long I have to wait? Well, I don't know how long you have to wait. That one I can answer honestly. I don't know how long you have to wait.
I don't think anyone knows yet.
Nobody knows yet. Why did we end it in the middle of the scene? Well, we didn't quote there was a very intense cliffhanger. Let's put it that way. And it was always meant to be 2 parts. I don't feel like it ended in the middle of the scene because I feel like the way it ended with like we know it's no different to me than Empire Strikes Back, right? Han Solo gets captured, taken to Jabba the Hutt. Then the last thing we see is like Luke and Leia in a medic bay after Luke gets a new hand because he just got that cut off after finding out Darth Vader was his father, right? It's all of that. To me, it's the same thing. Right? It's these big reveals, these big turning moments. And on top of that, now we've got Gwen and Hobie starting their own faction, which is like, where's that going to go? How is Miguel going to deal with this?
Yeah.
Right? He's the guy that's in charge of all the bracelets. And now Hobie's just sitting there making his own, like on his spare time for everybody. Huh. That's I don't know. I like Alice, I'll let you answer this one too. But
well, I mean, originally it was supposed to be one film, and
right.
they were like, "There's so much to say. Like, we don't want to cut out all this stuff. We're trying to fit in so many characters, so many worlds." Like, the options were either like cut it down to the length of a film or have it in 2 parts. And I think ultimately people will appreciate the fact that we didn't cut all that stuff out. Like, we've already cut stuff out. This is already a cut down version of it. But ultimately you wait a little longer, but you get to see so much more, you know?
Yeah. I think it's gonna be, and also I think it's gonna be worth the wait. And I know it sucks to wait, but you know what? Sometimes I think we need to learn to wait. Learn to wait. That's what we need to do again. We get so used to getting to binge things. Right? And that everything's so on demand.
Yeah.
As they even call it, I believe, right? Like everything's just there.
Yeah.
I think
They release like 5 episodes on the same day these days, you know. Back in my day it was once a week.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God, you sound like me. The but speaking of which, when we're done this, make sure you start binging Squid Games challenge. That'd be
Did the final one release?
Boom, dropped today. I believe it dropped today.
Okay. I'll have to go watch.
I'll double check. Yeah. But it should be 10 episodes. But I cannot wait. Yeah. The Ian, Monsters from Beyond. You bought the whole wave, dude. It's a great wave of figures, man. Not gonna lie. All right. Highly articulated. How many versions of Spider-Verse are there? Alice, I'll let you answer this one because you were on this movie all the way till the bitter end on this.
Yes. Yeah. Well, to be completely honest, did they tell you that there were going to be different versions in cinema?
No.
Okay,
no,
cool.
No.
I was like, they didn't announce it to us. They didn't sit us down and they were like, guys, all these shots that you're working on, they will actually, in fact, be used. We just assumed that they were going into the void. And it was really funny because when it started popping up on social media, people were like, oh, did you get this version? Did you get this version? I like looked at it. I was like, oh, yeah, that's the shot. And then someone else would be like, oh, I got this. And I'll be like, yeah, that's the shot. And like, it didn't even click in my brain that they were different versions because I've just gotten so used to seeing all of them. Um, from my knowledge, there was like 4 or 5 big shot differences, but they weren't like story differences. They were just like
No.
aesthetic differences.
Yeah, that's from okay. Yeah, so from what I heard, because when I was asking about this of like what was happening, so there was the version that we had out in time for the opening, for
Cinema. Yeah.
opening weekend and all that stuff. Then there was another version that was just slightly updated again for international. So that's number
Hmm.
2. Then there was a third version that then released international and worldwide, which just again had updated shots. And again,
Hmm.
it was just aesthetic stuff, like just
Yep.
lighting updates, uh, that kind of thing. Maybe some new colors. So there's the third one. And then the other one I know of is the final version, which is the what you see on Blu-ray and on streaming.
Yeah. Yeah. And they called back one of our coworkers the week after everyone left the show to get him to do more stuff. Like
Yeah,
the movie's out, guys. Like you should have like congratulated yourselves and then gone to bed. Why are you still making film edits?
right. It's bonkers. It was like because we were hearing about it. Like I remember jumping on to like everyone here knows now because the trailer's out. So when I jumped on to Ghostbusters, it was the same thing of like people like, hey, so we would get questions about like because Ryan's back. Ryan and Ashton are back. We should ask them where this is in effects. We're just like,
Yeah.
wait, what? What are you doing? Why are you like you're joking, right? Like like that's yeah, it was wild, but it was cool that people picked up on it too. Like they saw the
Mm,
differences. It showed me that people were going to it multiple times and then
mm,
seeing differences. And I actually was like, good on you. Because we lived
yeah.
it and we missed a lot of it. So
Oh yeah, yeah. You miss a lot because you kind of zone out and you like parse through it as if because you've worked on it and you don't
yep.
register it the same way when you go watch it.
Right. Yeah. It didn't. It's funny. Like even the movie didn't like. I knew how beautiful it was turning out, but like once we had the score and stuff in there too, it like just it hit totally different.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
everything in Gwen's world was just like, what am I watching? Who
Yeah,
worked on this? And
yeah.
then yeah, it is beautiful. Derek Hoover, I think, is asking a question we cannot answer. Can you can you share vaguely the worst or dumbest production note request you ever received? Perhaps top 3. I don't think we can actually answer that because that could get us in trouble, right?
I
It's
can do a very vague one. I've got a very
okay.
vague one. That was just annoying. So I
Okay.
I worked. I'm in FX. There was a rain shot. I was just doing rain, and one of the notes was, "Can you make it slower?" So I made it slower, and then they were like, "Oh, sorry, we meant, can you make it faster?" And I was like, "Okay, we'll make it faster." And they're like, "Actually, no, no. What we meant when we were saying slower and faster, we wanted you to match this other shot that we're referencing." And I was like, "Okay." And then they were like, "Actually, we're not going to use it anymore." So there you go. That's
It's
kind of like a little bit of every day working on Spiderverse.
yeah, that's how did Michelle Grady put like welcome to film?
Yep.
That's how, right. And I was like, every day there's something like that. Chad Stewart, why was Ben Riley so depressing? Next to Peter, he was my favorite Spider-Man as the Scarlet Spider. Okay, so what they were doing there was they were not really making fun of Ben Riley as so much as the angst of the 90s. And he kind of represents the 90s. So their whole thing was like, make him make him angsty, make him just hate life. So that's where they were going with that one. Unless do you have anything to add to that one?
No, I
I
love
think
Ben Riley. I thought
no.
he was. I was so excited to see him on screen.
Same here, and it's so fun. Like I love Ben Riley as well, and I love him in the comics. Like same as you, Chad. And when I saw that, I couldn't help but to laugh. But then when I had friends that watched it that were like, "Oh my god, Scarlet Spider's in this movie, Ben Riley, oh my god." And then when they saw it, they were just uh like that's not what I expected. This is kind of like, sorry, right?
Yeah.
Johnny Cott, why is Dan Larson the only one you announce with a full name? Because there's Pixel Dan as well. There's Pixel. I don't want people to mistake Pixel Dan and Dan Larson. It's that easy. It's that easy, right? Andrew's got it. Too many Dans. Oh, Kevin's here, toying around. Hello there. Professor Pig superpowers? Yes. I will happily take more Professor Pig action figures. Oh my gosh. Now everyone's asking about toys again. Just goes right back to toys every time. All right. Monsters from Beyond. Doell, with your headphones and red shirt, you kind of look like Peacemaker. Oh, thanks. Like John Cena. That's very nice. I'll take that. Let's see. All right. Oh yeah, hang on. Hobie needs a spinoff. Absolutely. I would love that. Bacon McShig. It's a funny story. At the end of Across the Spiderverse, I went to, so girl in the audience loudly screamed, "No, you can't do that!" when the credits are rolling. Yes, I got one of those too when I went to my first screening.
Yeah.
And my niece gave me shit.
Sorry, go on first.
Nope, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I heard a story as well from a friend where he was like, he went to go watch it with his friends, and one of his friends got up to go to the bathroom because he thought there was more to the film because it's like at a climax. And then he came back and it was just to be continued on the screen. So he was very upset. Yeah.
Getty's Toys. Are animators really getting grinded into a pulp lately? I think they've been getting grinded to a pulp since 1930s Snow White. That is the best way to put it. Animation's not easy. A full-length feature film of just animation is not easy. It is a lot of work. This is just across the board. This isn't a Sony ImageWorks thing. It doesn't matter if you work at DreamWorks, Illumination, Disney, Sony. Wait till if you've ever heard stories about anime getting made, insane, right? So I mean,
yeah,
you do kind of. I remember because I went to animation school as well, and I kind of remember that getting kind of prepped in animation school. They for better or for worse, they prep you for this. Instead of changing the industry, they train you instead to deal with it. And that's why, and Alice, you'll probably know this too, and probably be able to add to this. So when you're doing your final film, they give you a short amount of time when you're doing your final student film so that you are putting in those long hours. You are sleeping at your desk. And I mean, we don't really have the sleeping at the desk like you probably would have had 10 years ago or back. Maybe that still might happen at some studios, but I know it didn't. Well, we all work from home. I'm certain some animators are sleeping at their desk, right? But it's just but Alice, how do you feel? You're actually one of the artists. I just sit there and tell you to get things done. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tale as old as time, right? There's OT and it's very crunchy and you're always overworked and you don't get paid a lot is kind of like the cliche of animation, and it is mostly in part true. And yeah, it is such a shame that they're like, this, you should be prepared for this is the industry, you should be prepared to be doing these things, and they're not changing it. And I think there is a slow change. There are more unions, there are strikes happening now, people are talking about poor working conditions. But overall, it is kind of you should expect that. That's to be expected. I remember when I was in uni, a very memorable moment when I was rendering some shots for my 3D class, and I had to go in at 3 a.m. to go render stuff because I needed all the computers. And we didn't have a farm, and so you either had to do it on one computer or you had to go really, really early in order to have access to the computers and so I rocked up at 3 a.m. for 3 days and just rendered across all the computers. But it's that's not uncommon for students to be there at 2, 3, 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, that's how it was for us too. It was bonkers. But I mean, what do you do? You got a feature film, and I hate to say this too. We don't actually I felt like we always don't have enough artists.
Yeah,
and I think another problem too. If we had 3 times as many artists, we probably, and they would just pay them all, we wouldn't we wouldn't be in this problem. So there's that too.
Yeah.
There's always that
Yeah.
supply and demand of like needing people, right? So unlimited power. Any more live action cameos? I have no idea. Unless you're talking about in this one where any cut. Not that I know of. But even some of them were even a surprise for us. Like we didn't even realize it until like we're watching daily. Sometimes we're like, "Whoa, what did they just add in there?" Right? So like
Yeah.
we wouldn't necessarily know. Like it's cool.
I think originally,
That's the
and I can say this because I believe there was an article published about it, but originally they were thinking about doing like entire sequences with live action, that they then later on changed to just like Easter eggs in the background, you know, with the web scene with all the
just
videos
the
playing on the
origins.
web. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. But I think that was the only change they really made.
right. So my boy Steve 3, patience is a rare thing nowadays. It can be. It can. I think we're bringing it back. That's what we're doing. We're working hard to bring it back. Greg asking intensely, when are we getting Emissary, the Hell Japanese TV show Spider-Man with Lepard on? That again too, we don't know. I'm going to tell you this, folks, right now. If you're asking questions about the sequel, we know nothing because we're all on different projects. So we have zero access, and plus we can't say anything anyways. Like,
Yeah. Even if we did know,
like even
we
if we
don't
do,
know.
yeah, like we don't know, and we can't do anything. Video Power Gaming eBay store. Thank you for the super chat. Paying my Doell toll. Have to get to bed. We'll finish the show tomorrow. Alice was a fun co-host. Oh, well, thank you very much. We'll have her on more often. It'll be fun to talk Pokemon.
Absolutely.
Highly articulated. Thank you guys and everyone involved for making a movie that completely switched my 8-year-old onto superhero movies. Oh, that's awesome. It's awesome. Derek Hoover also with a super chat, but no question. Derek, what's going on? Thank you. But thank you for the super chat. Derek Hoover. So my super chat was supposed to say, perfect answer. Here, go buy a Pokemon.
Thank you.
Well, oh, there you go. That's for you. That's your $2. Remind me, I owe
Yeah,
you $2.
yeah. I'll cash it in
Right?
next time we grab coffee.
Andrew, Gatey's Toys. Did you go to VFS? Gonna assume that's Vancouver Film School. Writing class alum. I did. Get this. So when I first moved here to Vancouver, I just took a couple part-time courses at VFS just to kind of like. I was done with animation school and I hated animation school, which is why I'm not an animator today, because I was like, this is not for me. I just want to, it just isn't. I just didn't like it. I love animation. It didn't ruin my love for animation in the slightest. If anything, it gave me a more appreciation for what everyone does. And I loved it. But yeah, but if you're a rating class alum, go Gades, what are you doing? Write something.
Go write something.
Go write something. It'll be fun, right? When I went to school for it, it was definitely a grind. So many storyboards. You know what? Storyboards was my favorite part of it.
Ew.
What?
Sorry.
Did you?
That was a bit.
Whoa. Okay. Explain the ew.
I just think they're kind of boring. I don't know. Look, my favorite part of any project is seeing like the finished thing. So I like doing things that are like close to the end of development.
Okay, that doesn't count. I'm just saying, like, I love being able to like quickly jot down what I'm visualizing. And here's the worst part is that my brain gets way too complicated way too quickly. And I think that just comes from like, I want to do like a whole battle scene where it all looks like it's done in one camera take. Dude, like, know your limits, stay within it. Right? Like, come on. Like, my imagination
every day.
Right? I feel like my imagination is bigger than my talent. That's the best way to put it. That's how I feel. This is my trauma. This is Matt Bush, $10 blank Thank you, Matt Push. Right. All right. And this question for you, Alice. Where did you go to school?
I went to school at RMIT, which I don't know if a lot of people know because I'm from Australia. Believe it or not, I have no accent. I've
Oh, it's
never
showing up
lived
a
in
couple
America.
times tonight.
Yeah, but I am Australian. I'm from Melbourne.
That's awesome. That's where. So okay, then let's continue this. So you went from school, then like straight to Vancouver,
Hmm.
right? And then we're just
Yep.
like from school to Spiderverse.
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky. I got a good opportunity, and I got hired pretty much out of uni, and I was like, yeah, I'll move. Originally, when we were talking about this job, they were like, oh, would you, I had a contract, I had my comic actually, that I put on hold to work on Spider-Verse. But originally, I told them, I was like, hey, this timing isn't gonna work out. I'm gonna have to decline. And then they were like, okay, but what if it was Spider-Verse? And I was like, okay, we can talk. We can talk. And I was like, I could move to Canada for Spider-Verse. I'd do
Yeah,
that. And
right.
here we are.
Here we are. that's that's fun. Okay, this might be a reference, but you only know. Did you watch Round the Twist as a kid?
Oh my gosh. Yes, it was so good. The theme song. So good.
Okay, I'm looking that up after this. All right, and you're getting more money from me apparently as well. All right, more Pokemon money from Johnny Cock. Thank you so much. All right, we have reached that hour point, folks. So thank you everyone who tuned in, hung out, asked questions. Oh, Round the Twist is on CBC. Okay, all right, fine.
Go watch
But
it.
yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much, Alice. Alice, one more time, can you do all the plugs? Where to find you, where to find your comic, and all of that, and what it's called, the whole bit.
Yes. So I am online. My username is Akiocha, Akiocha. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, all the social medias, Twitter. My comic, All Haven Academy, is coming out next week on Tuesday on Webtoons, exclusively on Webtoons. So keep an eye out for it.
Awesome. That's totally awesome. And then you'll find me here again next week. Oh no, you won't find me here next week because I'm going to be flying to the farmhouse next week. So maybe I'll do a show on Thursday. We'll see. I don't like to overlap with Kevin on Toying Around if I don't have to. As well as then be on Toy Anxiety on Tuesday next week as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone for hanging out. For anyone who asked questions and interacted and had fun tonight. And yeah, so thank you everyone again, and we'll see you next